Hi, I hope you're well today. In today's video, I'm going to share with you a concept that's really useful when you're thinking about stopping drinking and you're anxious about how you're going to manage things sober. Okay, so picture the scene. I'm in a conference hall, a couple of rows back from the front. I've got my head bowed and I'm staring at the shiny wooden parquet floor around my feet. And the 500 odd other people in the conference hall with me are all doing the same. We're all kind of sitting there with our heads bowed as if we're in a church and we're in prayer. And the guy on the stage is a guy called Miles Hilton Barber, who describes himself as an adventurer and motivational speaker. And he's a pretty awesome guy. He's an awesome motivational speaker. And what he was doing was he was introducing us to a concept. He was describing to us, he was getting us to imagine that there was kind of like a coloured circle on the floor around our feet. And this circle, he said everything inside that circle kind of represented all of our experiences, all of our adventures, all of our actions, all of our behaviours, everything that we were comfortable with, everything that we'd experienced in our lives so far was inside that circle. And he called it a comfort circle. And we were just all sat there with our heads down, looking at our feet, imagining these circles around our feet and imagining how big our comfort circles were. And he asked us, what do we think happens when we take a step outside that comfort circle? When we do something that's new, something that scares us, something that might feel uncomfortable? And the answer was that you don't actually step outside the comfort circle. When you take a step towards the edge of the circle, it actually grows with you. So every new experience you have, every time you do something that scares you or that you feel uncomfortable with, you're actually expanding your circle. You've probably heard the expression about how it's good to step outside of your comfort zone. This is bandied around a lot. We hear it all of the time. And I've been asking myself that question, why? Why is it good to expand our comfort circles? Why is it good to step outside of our comfort circles? And this question is really relevant to us if we want to stop drinking and start living our lives sober. Because of course, everything that we used to do with alcohol in tow, that we want to do without alcohol, that we want to do sober, is going to feel different. It's going to feel new. And sometimes it's going to feel uncomfortable, if not downright terrifying. And so it's really relevant to think of things in terms of a comfort circle. And when we're learning to navigate life sober, we're taking strides towards the edge of our comfort circle. We're helping our comfort circles to grow with us. So a good example would be my Saturday evenings when I was drinking had a very specific pattern to them. And the pattern was that at 6 o'clock, bang on 6 o'clock in the evening, I would open my recipe book. I would have already chosen a really nice recipe to cook that evening. I would have been to the shop. I would have got all my ingredients. 6 o'clock on the Saturday evening, I would have been salivating all day, counting the hours till 6 o'clock came around. I would turn the radio on to a specific radio show that I like to have on. I would open my recipe book. I would have all the ingredients for the meal that I was preparing laid out on my lovely kitchen table. It would be warm and cosy in my kitchen. I'd put the radio on and I'd pour myself my first stiff G&T of the evening. I would normally have 2 G&Ts while I was preparing the meal. And when the meal was ready, I would take a bottle of wine through, or a couple of bottles of wine, and me and my partner would sit and we'd eat our meal, and I would get through at least 1, if not 2 bottles of wine with the meal, and I'd just conk out on the sofa in front of some Saturday evening TV. And that was my Saturday evening pattern. So my first Saturday evening sober was a huge challenge. I had to steel myself to pour a tonic water and lime as I was preparing dinner instead of without the gin, because that's what I was used to. I had to really steel myself mentally to do that. I had to prepare for it. I had to mentally rehearse it in advance that this is what I was going to do. I had to force myself, when I went through to eat my evening meal, I had to force myself to take a cup of tea with me instead of a bottle of wine. It was hard work. It felt wrong. It felt awkward. It felt uncomfortable. But do you know what? Miles was right, because every single time I repeated this new Saturday night habit, what happened was my comfort circle grew to include Saturday night sober, with tonic instead of gin and tonic, and with herbal tea instead of wine with my meal. So my circle grew every time I repeated and practiced this new habit to include that habit. So that habit, that new habit, became comfortable. It became familiar. It became part of my comfort circle. So my circle grew and expanded to include it. And this is the point. Every time we step towards the edge of our comfort circles, every time we expand our comfort circles a little more and a little more, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And why is this a good thing? Well, it's a good thing because the bigger your circle, the more kind of confident a person you are, the better you become at navigating the world around you, the more fulfilled you are, the more satisfied you are with your life, the more you find it easy to navigate your life, the more aspirations you have, the more you're likely to achieve your aspirations, the more likely you are to become the best version of yourself, the bigger your circle is. So it's a good thing to want to step outside of your comfort circle, to allow that circle to grow and expand with you, and to include more things within that circle. And of course, to expand your comfort circle, you don't have to take enormous, great, adventurous steps like Miles Hilton Barber, who has set world records, who has been on crazy adventures, diving, flying, travelling across Antarctica, running, all sorts of crazy things that he's done that have helped him grow as a person and expanded his circle. We don't need to do all those crazy big adventurous things. They can be really small steps that we're taking. It can be things like ordering a non-alcoholic beer at the bar. It can be going for a walk outside on your own. It can be managing your first party sober. These small things might be nothing to someone else, but if for you they make you uncomfortable and fearful, then they're helping you to grow your comfort circle. They're helping you to become a bigger, better, and more confident version of yourself. If you've had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, you can expect some discomfort when you stop drinking and start learning how to navigate your life sober. Know that this is okay. You can do it anyway. The more you repeat your new sober habits, the more you practice them, the more you keep stepping towards the edges of your comfort circle, the more confident and comfortable you become with living your life sober. For more motivation and inspiration on stopping drinking and living your life happily and healthily sober, you can subscribe to my channel. I'll look forward to catching up with you very soon, but in the meantime, let's go get sober together.